Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. I am here with a co-caster today. We have brought in the infamous Ryokai to pop in and give us his expert analysis during the game in this heroic division matchup, Miss My Skillshots versus Archon. How are you doing today, Ryo?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy few days for me. I'm in a closet. We moved. I'm exhausted, but I'm here to cast, so.
Well, that's, NGS appreciates it. You get the stamp of approval. And I'm a little under the weather today, so having a co-caster, someone riding shotgun, especially someone as knowledgeable as Ryokai, is a fantastic boon for me today. So we'll do fine. Why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself there, Ryo?
Well, I haven't played in NGS before this season, but I've been playing for, I don't know, 2 years or so. I'm known as like a Phoenix one trick, but I mostly play ranged DPS. That's about it.
Right now
I
he's in
play with Rewind now,
yeah,
so
there you go. So
in Div A.
currently on Rewind Division A, and you guys had your first match the other day against Team Training Wheels.
Yep. Lost the first game, but then pulled it back to win the set overall. So not too bad for a season opener. I think we played pretty well overall after we pulled ourselves together there in games 2 and 3. So yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I think we'll do well this season.
Fantastic. I was just moving some people around. Alrighty then. So what we have here today, folks, is we already got the bans and everything out of the way as far as the maps are concerned. So I'm gonna pop up that screen for us to look at. And we have banned out Braxis and Alterac, as well as banned out Sky Temple and Volskaya. And the first pick is going to be on the side of Archon, as they won the coin toss. So Miss Most Skillshots did pick the battlefield, which is going to be going to battlefield of its. What do you think at this point of this kind of matchup and the first map choice?
Well, I noticed they took out a lot of the big maps in the ban phase there, so Cursed Hall is probably going to be an unlikely one to be seen, maybe Towers of Doom alongside it. So BOE, the only other 2-lane map aside from Braxis. It can be pretty snowbally, but of course there's lots of focus in the draft on race heroes and stuff like that. So yeah, it should be interesting first game.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to pop into there. Do you have any insight on either one of these teams at all? Who do you think has the advantage here coming?
So I believe both teams currently started the season with a domination. I do know some players on both teams actually. I think, let me double check that it's the team I'm thinking of. Miss Most Skillshots, I believe, has Carbon, who is a very well-known like GM Leeming one trick sort of. So we might expect a ban on that. We might expect him to play it. He'll probably be pretty comfortable on that if he does. He plays a few other heroes. I shouldn't necessarily call him a one trick, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on in draft, I would say.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I actually have very little information on the players here, so it's nice to have at least a little bit of insight on what we will be potentially seeing here today. Now everyone is in lobby, so we're going to be about ready to get started here very shortly. I'm going to let them know that we are ready. Get Ryukai back on the screen so everyone can look at your face one last time before we get going.
They'll be seeing plenty of it tonight, so.
Yes. Yes, if you are not aware, Ryokai is in the closet. Question from the peanut gallery. So tell us a little bit about this map. What do you think are the most effective strategies, especially at a high level going into this? What should we be looking at draft wise? How should we be playing the map?
Well, wave clear is not really that important. Camps are pretty easy to take as well, so you don't necessarily need like a dedicated kind of camp clearing hero or anything. So it's a lot of focus on race. Generally, more so the auto attackers over mages, just because they're not like cooldown based or anything. So you'll see a lot of like Li Ming, Sylvanas, Raynor, Hanzo, Vala even. Vala just got reworked. Well, not reworked, but buffed a little bit. Greymane just got buffed a little bit, so we might see a few of them pop in. And the middle of the map is really, really open. So some engages and flanks and stuff can all happen around in the middle of the map. So you might want like a really hard engage tank or something, dive tank sort of thing. So there's a couple different routes you can go, but we'll see. So I think most of the time teams generally kind of go to either one of the two extremes or just kind of hybridize them in the middle. Those are kind of like the three main routes that people take. Tyrande is also a big benefit on this map with the armor reduction on her trait, stuff like that. So there's a few other little niche things you got to keep in mind when going into this map.
I think draft has a major role to play in this style of map, particularly.
Yes and no. I think as long as both teams kind of know what's going on, you're not going to get like a super huge advantage probably out of draft. But I think probably not drafting something that is really weak in the early game is the most important thing. This map is pretty snowbally, and if you lose the first immortal, you can lose a fort off that, and if you lose the second immortal, I mean, you can lose a keep, and so it's really hard to come back from there if your early game is generally weak. So you won't generally see some of the super late game heroes. That's also just you're not going to be in lanes and stacking, and you're only getting 2 lanes of experience to get creep stacks from and stuff like that. So that's kind of like a general trend, but.
Alrighty there, we did just get the go-ahead from both teams. They are ready to go. We are going to be jumping into the draft here on Battlefield of Eternity. I'm excited. Let's get this party started. Why don't you talk us through some of the picks as they show up?
We'll see what the first ban is here. There's Li Ming. No, sorry, Carbon, not today. I don't know if the games yesterday were played with the new changes. I believe they were, but I didn't really get the chance to really watch them. So these are actually going to be the first games that I've seen with the new patch. A new Barak banned out. That's kind of just common standard at this point. Really strong tank there. There's Greymane too. Interesting. So I've heard that Greymane and Vala are both pretty strong now. And Greymane, this is probably one of his better maps.
Oh yeah, almost certainly. And I think with the extra damage and movement speed kind of in this last patch, we're probably going to be seeing Greymane take a bigger role going forward.
I'm curious to see if teams will start prioritizing the top and bot lane goat camps a bit more, because those got pretty significantly buffed in the last patch. I don't know if those are now potentially better to worry about timing them around, especially around the objectives. Tyrande banned out. I mentioned that in the pregame. There's Abathur. Okay, so Abathur is a little bit interesting on this map because you don't really need him for the global pressure, although you can soak during the objectives. But he's mostly, I would say, for kind of a defensive, like hard engage around the Immortals comp that looks to defend and get kills and then win the Immortal through getting kills, basically, rather than actually racing.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that Abathur is quite a spicy pickup here in this selection process. But those ones are kind of something we've been seeing a little bit more standard with the Alarak and the Sylvanas. But yeah, Abathur is not an early game hero, and kind of what you're talking about before. It's a little bit scary going into a situation where you don't have an easy early game. But as it scales into late game, as long as you don't lose too much, it tends to be not such a bad pick.
So Sylvanas is pretty strong in the early game. Her level 4 Merc Queen talent does work on your Immortals. Not the 60% damage buff, but the 30%. And she also can snowball the map pretty hard as well on those pushes, so that makes sense. Alarak has been strong the past couple patches, ever since they buffed his W cooldown at level 1. He's been solid. Genji used to be a lot more of a common pick on this map before Genji's nerf since things like that. When you could cheese the well, that was also a big benefit to picking Genji. Can't do that anymore, at least not very easily. Stukov, I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Do you think that the change to movement speed has helped Genji in this last patch?
Well, I haven't really seen much. It seems like it would be harder to hit the dash tip and Shingon and stuff like that. Just skill shot heroes in general got kind of nerfed a little bit. Johanna banned out. She's also, with your tank, that kind of is standard at this point. Abathur Genji, though, obviously does work well together. That's a pretty common combo that we've seen in the past. Diablo getting banned out, another hard, strong engage dive tank getting taken away.
Almost something you'd want with the team that banned it, actually, with that Diablo Genji dive can actually be pretty intense.
I think their plan might to be going Muradin or Tyrael or something, just to get a bit more kind of sustain and engage in these fights. ETC being taken up, he's had an uptick in the meta recently. Rhaegar is a bit more unusual. Rhaegar is one of the higher damage support, so that might be the reason.
Alrighty, but as you said, there's the Myrrh, yeah, coming in and filling that slot. And Raynor for some really good, solid backline DPS. So no traditional offlaner, but this is a map where that you don't typically need one.
They might have Raynor or Muradin kind of act as a pseudo offlaner, so that Abathur can hat both lanes rather than having to hat and soak one. There's Artanis. Artanis is another common pick on this map. This is probably his maybe only really super viable map outside of Juice Pirates and stuff. Just the amateur opponent at level 1 is really strong. So overall, at the end of this draft, I would actually say that I like the red team draft here a little bit better. I think the Abathur, Genji, and Muradin synergize really well together. The Alarak Sylvanas, both having 2 silences, could be pretty effective at shutting down their hard engage, but I'm not really seeing the defensive peel that the blue team will need against that. I don't think Rhaegar is going to be good enough. Sylvanas doesn't have too much. Artanis doesn't really have much, so they might be in a little bit of a tough situation over there.
Now, they might have a bit of a chance in the early game, given that Sylvanas is on the side of the blue, and if they do win a pretty big health immortal, you can definitely get some good push going in. But even with the highest the highest shield and a Sylvanas, you'll be hard pressed to be able to take a keep in the first immortal. So, as long as the red side can kind of stall out the game, keep their keeps up until 10 and beyond, like you said, it's probably going to start getting quite difficult for Rhaegar to be able to keep up with the pressure and ETC to be able to keep.
That's one of the benefits of going the more race-oriented comps and heroes, is that they're also generally, if you're good at racing the immortal on the offense when the immortals are up, they're also generally pretty good at killing the immortal pretty fast when defending. So I think Raynor especially shouldn't have too big of a problem dealing with that. Genji also isn't bad if you can stick landing those autos on people. He's pretty good sustained DPS. So
alrighty,
I think they could defend pretty solidly.
Getting into the game here, we are going to start out with announcing the team on the right-hand side, the red team. We have in the red the Archon and Little Bex on Stukov, Variations playing the Muradin, Midnight Haze on Raynor, Fatal Rampage playing Abathur, and JTR on the Genji. Maybe you want to announce the blue side for us?
Sure. On the blue side, we have Miss Most Skillshots. We have Carbon on Alarak. We have Frosty on ETC. We have the Hammer on Sylvanas. We have Tank Only on Rhaegar. And we have Arduous Bow on Artanis.
So, spicy way to start off the game. We see a 4-man rotation to the top lane, as they can anticipate that there's not going to be anyone quite prepped up there. Quite a bit of dive or quick damage on the front wall. Is probably going to get that first tower before any rotation come in. And actually, red didn't even make the rotation.
Yeah, I think they started Genji top, trying to get a quick gank cheese kill off of, but they kind of countered that by doing their own Sylvanas cheese. So a little bit of a game of chicken going on here. Well, the swap into the wall was pretty unfortunate, so Artanis goes down there.
Lands the swap, but dies under the tower. Not what we wanted to see in the early part, but it looks like Stukov standing on that wall is a little bit scary into Alarak, and he's going to get the pick. And that's a 1-for-1 trade in the opening minute of BOE between these two teams.
So blue team has rotated now down to bot lane. Murden barely getting out here. Oh, he might get picked off at the end. Okay, Abathur Hat comes in to save him just at the end.
Yeah, the hammer might have actually almost been able to get that last auto attack in. It was just a little bit unfortunate that he just got max range just the last second there. Manages to stay alive, and of course Murden's going to heal up really fast with that trait value of his. And but they're going to take the pressure and use it to get the first camp here in the bottom lane.
Oh, Genji dashes onto the point to contest, so they might actually fight over this. The big silence by Stukov zoning out the blue team there.
Yeah, that backline
Sylvanas
pressure
gets away
applied
with
by Genji with that Abathur Hat definitely took down both tank only and the hammer really low. And that's going to convert it into a nice camp steal in the early game with this spicy Abathur comp.
Yeah, ironically, Stukov dying early enough there kind of allowed them to make that invade defense on the camp. Normally, if you get a kill on the bot side of the map, you can take that camp. But the camp doesn't spawn until 1 minute, so the death was actually early enough that they couldn't really get the advantage off of it. And then they still tried to, and then, you know, Stukov came in for the defense there, so.
So, nice little pull, two-man silence there by Alarak. Just applying some pressure, but as you can see, the health bars are popped back really quickly. And we're back to the same old laning phase. We're going to get the rotations coming out from Rhaegar and Sylvanas onto the Bruiser camp, and we're going to see the exact same rotation coming out from Stukov and Raynor on the other side. Obviously, Blue is going to be able to get this up a little bit faster and out pushing, so they might also be able to make the rotation onto the objective a bit quicker as well.
So we do see Raynor went Exterminator here, so it looks like they are kind of going a little bit of race talents. They might not fully be committing to the dive. Although Genji, Abathur, Murden might just be good enough on its own. They were leaving Genji top. You definitely want a ranged hero up there to bully the Artanis, and Genji was doing that pretty well. But him having the escape over Raynor, I think, in case of the swap shenanigans, was the reason they went.
But it still seems like the bodies math is working out in favor of the blue squad. It looks like Miss My Skill Shots will get the conversion, and let's see how the race goes from here on out. Artanis is now available onto this, though, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty quick win here for Miss My Skill Shots.
That was a pretty close second half. I do think the blue team is a bit more early game race oriented. Raynor gets a lot of extra damage. Oh, big swap onto Murden and the Raynor there.
And there's Alarak for you, punishing positioning. Gets the nice pull in, puts Murden out. He doesn't have his jump up after that pull kind of came in, so he's a little bit stuck in the area. And then, of course, Raynor wasn't able to get out in time and gets pulled back into the mess. And that's going to be 2 kills and a push with the Sylvanas. This could definitely, this is most likely going to take the fort. And we'll see how much they get on the keep push.
Oh, before the kill happened, I was going to mention that Raynor gets a lot of damage from Raider at 10 and some other things like that. This defense might... No, it's probably not going to save the fort, but they might be able to get a kill past here if they keep looking, although Murden gets caught by the pull and then the power slide goes down. So.
Yeah, the pull silence and stun from ETC, classic combo. We've been seeing it a heck of a lot more frequently as Alarak has made a nice little blast into the current meta, I'd like to say. He's being played by everyone these days.
And Artanis is hunting down poor Abathur in the top lane.
Abba, a slug life.
So, of course, it is pretty standard. After you have the Immortal push, then you go get the Impaler camp in that lane. Generally, it's respawned around there, so...
I do think Artanis is in a bit of a bind here. He's going to have to get himself out. Genji does pull off of the chase instead of kind of pushing it down to see if he can get the kill. But they do manage to get the steal on the camp, so it's going to be 1 camp to 1 camp trade. But
and
Genji
there
gets
goes Genji again. Yep, that combo is bread and butter for them right now, and definitely working out over and over. So
yeah, not
they're
quite
going to get another point.
Not quite the early game you want to be seeing from the ABBA comps. You know, at the very least, they need to be mitigating the amount of deaths that they keep taking in these pickoffs and in these rotations, and it doesn't seem to be like they can do a whole lot about it. The damage comes in, someone dies, and Stukov just doesn't really have the save tools to stop anyone from dying in those instances.
He might a bit better at level 10 with either swipes or the shove there. Notably, Abathur did not go Mule, so this structure damage is gonna stick as well. So definitely a bit of a rough early game for the red team. Okay, scattered out by the Genji Shurikens.
Of course, he was in pretty short range, which did get him the pull and comboed into it. And it's going to drop him really low. 99 health he was at for a short second there. And with that pressure, they're going to be able to step up here and get a little bit of mortal damage. A nice stun, though, from Muradin onto the Artanis. But he looks like he's going to be able to get out of there. And now we're back onto the defensive side on each.
Yeah, blue team is ahead for level 10 here, so they might elect to get their camp and just re-engage after they get level 10, maybe past half. Looks like they're trying to get on Rhaegar down here. I think he sidestepped a few too many times there after Muradin had already jumped, so unfortunately he goes down.
Rhaegar attempting to push out the lane, gets himself caught out of position, and that's going to be the quick kill on it. They do have a lot of mobility when you're talking Genji Muradin with an Abathur hat, so kind of hard to run away even with a speedy Rhaegar. Rhaegar, of course, didn't take the speed boost, which why would you on this map in particular? Which definitely helped make sure he didn't get out of that. Nice swap coming from
Artanis swaps into the camp here, but it does get taken. ETC did go stage dive, so that won't be getting any use here. Genji dashes out. So it looks like things have kind of restabilized for both teams here, although Muradin's still poking in, bullying.
Yeah, I mean, the stall has been working out for Archon. They did lose the halftime show, but they are 10 versus 10 now. And we might see them start popping off. We do get Dragon Blade from Genji. Genji clone, Dragon Blade. We do get the Raider. We get Avatar, as well as Massive Shove. So looking to see if they can make something happen here on this defense.
The Dragon Blade might be a little tough to get value out of as he goes in here. Wailing Arrow is very easy to hit on a Genji Dragon Blading on the backline, and he's just going to get CC'd. Oh, he might... Nope, the suppression pulse there does deal a little bit of damage, finishes him off, so...
Yeah, well, when you're at 50 health, and just breathing on him is enough to kill him. Get a nice slow swap on variations. The E is already down, so he has to pop Avatar to try to stay alive, but he just gets focus fired down, and that's going to be 2 more kills. Genji playing a little bit too far aggressive against this Alarak, but it is the clone is going to stall out, get a little bit of damage in.
Another beautiful swap on the Stukov. Yeah, this is just hard to watch at this point.
So much displacement, follow-up stuns, burst damage coming out. There's just not a lot that Archon seems to be able to do about it. It's just so much pressure being applied in a very short period of time. That there's just almost no window for reaction to occur.
This is going top lanes. They should have most of the lane to walk back in order to defend it, as blue team is on the bot side getting a camp. So this defense might be possible. They're instead going to look on ETC trying to get a pick here.
I mean, their team is designed for team fights, so they're doing their best to see if they can kind of get the pressure in. But it looks like Genji's just going to get pulled in, bursted down. And yet another attempt at a team fight just ends up becoming a counter kills for Miss My Skill Shots. And that's going to be yet another death. 2 more killed in the bot lane while a full shielded Immortal is pushing in the top lane. Things are in dire straits for Archon at this moment.
Yeah, unfortunately with the massive shove missing to peel the ETC and the trying to go for the aggressive play to try and get themselves back in the game instead of defending, it looks like they might lose definitely 1 keep on the bot lane, possibly even 2 if they can rotate. Or this is potentially just a core call maybe even, with how these fights have been going where it's just a blender for the red team, that they're just walking into it over and over. No, they're going to elect to back up.
Looks like they're going to take the face safe Archon. They do get a nice defend in the top lane as there was no additional pressure being applied. But, you know, that's 1 keep down, 1 almost dead, and almost 2-level lead experience for Miss My Skill Shots. So we're really going to need to get some good team fights here by Archon, but a nice swap coming into the Stukov is going to actually apply the pressure. Abathur keeping his hat on him to try to keep him alive. Massive sub actually sees him and lines him up for a nice combo by Alarak. Alarak's at 140 sadism now, and that's just going to start hurting more and more and more as he gets more kills.
Yeah, I gotta give pretty huge shoutouts to both Arduous Bow and Carbon here. They are putting on a clinic on displacement this game, setting up for the ETC even to add even more onto it. So yeah, they are very much impressing me this game.
We do get the double Genji engagement on the back with the Dragon Arrow, trying to get the damage in, but it's just not enough. Rhaegar seems to just be living through it. In fact, he's just going to push in onto the keep and get it anyways, and then run everybody around for a little bit. Looks like he's going to sacrifice himself, but it's an actually okay sacrifice considering they're going to trade out the Genji in that process. 2 for 1. Finally a 1 fight for Archon, but, you know, 1 for 2 and losing a keep is probably not what you consider a win.
I respect Rhaegar's commitment to the call for the keep, though.
Yep. Boss said keep. He said okay. So we're going to see the camp here trying to relieve a bit of the pressure already applied in both lanes when you've lost. You know, both keeps, your game suddenly becomes on a timer, and you quite literally cannot lose another objective and or team fight, as any of those conditions being met is going to be almost guaranteed win condition for the opposing team.
Archon got their Shaman camp to try and neutralize the top lane. I believe with catapults that should actually still eventually push towards their core. Bot lane with now the Mismo skill Shaman camp there. But Mismo Skillshots, they can play this very slow, patient. Although Arduous Bow might not do that despite my casting here. But they can wait for level 16, and then they will have a solid advantage. They can just wait for these lanes to get pushed and, you know, sit with an advantage pretty much the whole rest of this game. So definitely an uphill battle for Archon here.
Yeah, it's a mighty frustrating situation, 16 to 14, and you just can't even position in any spot where you can actually start applying any type of poke or pressure onto miss my skill shots, as they can just punish anyone that steps up aggressively with swaps, with the pull in, with the silence and variations. Again, losing a good portion of his health before the fight even starts, and gets pulled in again, comboed and dead, and that's going to be another kill. And this is probably starting to look like the end with another death. That's 2 for nothing at this point. Argus Bow getting pushed down pretty hard, but there's the Ancestral. And, you know, that's another feel-bad moment. You think you've got this guy ready to get in kill range, and then all of a sudden he has all of his health back. Pressure back onto the Immortal. This is going to be a half shield Immortal pushing down whichever lane, and it's going to be a hard fight for Archon not to just lose this game right here and now.
Yeah, I have to imagine that this is game here with the Impaler camp, and now pretty much a above half shield Immortal pushing on the core directly. I don't see how they can defend this without level 16 talents as well, so maybe they pull a miracle defense, but...
Muradin feeling the pressure. Archon got the pull in plus the stun and follow-up stun, but he does seem to be able to tank through it at this moment. But the Immortal has finally arrived. It's going to start putting pressure onto the score, and without any poke damage onto it and all the health bars so low, I think this defense is just going to be over at this point. Nice swap.
Barely gets in the Fountain 5. Great swap. And good Counter-Strike even gets the Abathur. Oh, Genji is getting a return kill, but nope, not enough. Core goes down in the meantime.
And that's going to be GG for Miss My Skill Shots. Only showing people how to play BOE on the opening game. That, like you said, the displacement, the Alarak and Artanis just able to pull everyone out of position to the point where you just cannot even step up into the fight. Just put so much pressure on them that they couldn't really get anything else done.
Yeah, I think the weakness of that game was definitely probably partly Stukov, but partly just their comp plan in general was very aggressive, and in a team that says, hey, you want to come to us, by all means, come right in. We'll pull you, and then you'll never get away from us with all our displacement. So, yeah, I think the peel was a big issue. I'm not sure some of the talents and heroic choices were necessarily what they needed. Like I mentioned, Raynor not going ace in the hole and the the Dragon Blade, I think were both a little bit unusual in my opinion for the choice of the map and the team comps. But I mean, props to Mismo Skillshots. They played that pretty much as textbook as you could, and definitely put on a good show there. So well played to both teams. See what will look like going into game two.
Alrighty, folks, while I set up the next screen, I'll put you to a nice little break screen while we get everything set up for the next game. We'll be right back. Alrighty, buddy, and everyone else here in chat, welcome to back. We are going to be going into our second match. We did get map pick by Archon, and we will be going to Infernal Shrines. So, what do you think Archon needs to do to pick up the win here in this next match?
Well, I would say probably try to build a comp that can definitely be defensive, but slow things down. Try and take things a lot more patient and calm in fights and things like that, and try and play a slow game plan and try and slow Mismo skill shots down and slow down the aggression and the momentum. Hopefully they can get some good defensive tools like Alexstrasza for these shrines and something along those lines that can definitely turn the tides of a team fight, even if one person goes down in the start or whatever. That if the team fight lasts long enough, hopefully you can trade in a counter kill or something. So that would be my game plan going in.
Sounds like a sound plan to me.
I'm not sure that you can let Alrak through again. That was pretty strong. I don't think Artanis would probably be a worry. Just this map compared to BOE, he's not really as much of a common meta pick. Yeah. So
it's the swap plus the displacement that really causes.
Yeah, it was kind of a combination of too many things over a critical mass. Yeah, exactly.
Worked out really well on that map, but yeah, despite the buffs to Artanis, I would say he did get treated pretty nicely by Blizzard in this last part. His kit just still fundamentally does not amplify maps quite the same way. I'd still think this is one of his better maps if you're going to take him, but for sure he doesn't quite have the same. Doesn't quite benefit the same like he does on BU.
Yeah, this map is a lot more like wave clear and shrine clear focused. So I think trying to play a more macro game plan rather than all these little skirmishes and fights constantly would work better for Archon potentially. So.
Well, everyone is filtering into the lobby right now, so we should be about ready to get into game number 2. So we're looking at potentially replacing those bans from previously to get Alarak out of the way. And especially against anyone, especially if you struggle in positioning against Alarak, it tends to be more difficult to play around it. I found the most effective strategy is just take things that can shoot at him way out of his range. So, what do you think about Junkrat here, perhaps?
Yeah, Junkrat is definitely strong. One thing I was going to mention is we might see an Anduin on the side of Archon to have the cleanse and the pull that ignores any displacement that they want to do in response to that or something. I'm trying to remember what the bans were last game. I know Lehman got banned on the side of Archon. I can't remember their second ban, and then I remember it was Anubarak Durand for the side of Mismos Skillshots. So we'll see what the starting bans are going in here.
Well, we are starting to see if we can get the ready up from both teams here. They seem to be discussing a little bit before they give me the okay. We got an R from the Hammer. Waiting on JTR to give me the go-ahead, and we'll be starting up right away here. Alrighty, that's going to be it, so we're going to start right away. And we shall see how this plays out.
Greymane was the second ban. Thank you. So Mismos Skillshots banning Abathur. This is a bigger map and a 3-lane map versus a 2-lane. So that is a common meta ban that we'll probably see on the rest of this series. That I would say.
Yeah, you also can't amplify. You can't get as much out of the early game in Infernal Shrines as you potentially get in Battlefield of Eternity. So it's very likely that you can stall out the second objective to the point where you get the 10s. And once you've already done that, especially if you established any control on the map, Abathur just starts snowballing against you pretty hard. So if you know the enemy team is playing it and you don't want to deal with it, you might as well just remove it, and that seems to be the strategy today. Nubrak and Anna are also the other bands.
And there's Sylvanas ban. Sylvanas is pretty strong in this map, especially with the Impaler camps getting buffed in the last patch. I could see her being actually a lot stronger on this map than she was in the past. So I'd be excited to try that out myself, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sylvanas is strong pretty much on any map these days. But yeah, if they're buffing mercenaries, she's just going to get even stronger. So we're going to see first pick Maiev coming out from My Skillshot.
Yeah, I have said for a long time that I think Sylvanas was the secret answer to Maiev that the meta was missing. Sylvanas does really well into Maiev. You can silence her after she shades or before she shades and can take it. And her E allows her to never get pulled by the chain, basically. So and get through the cage as well. Zeratul made it through ban phase, so this might be the first Zeratul game in all of NGS this season. And Tyrael is interesting. He did, I think, kind of get buffed by the move speed changes. Both his Holy Ground kind of now effectively more of an area, sort of, as you can think about it, because people are moving faster. And he just buffs his own team's movement speed. So there's Johanna, again, more wave clear, and they are going Uther. I'm not sure if that will be their sole healer. We will have to see.
But it seems to be going that way, as it doesn't. They've already got a pretty established front line with Johanna and Maiev. Seeming going double support there will put you in kind of a weird spot as far as laning and the rest of it goes. So I don't know about that. I think Zeratul making it through the draft comes down to the uncertainty level people are feeling about the hero after the changes. He did get Wormhole nerfed, which I think everyone agrees was a much needed nerf to the hero, as he could just be devastating in the wrong hands. And do you think it's going to influence the build that JTR chooses to go, or do you think Cleave build is still enough of a threat with Wormhole that we might still just see the standard build?
Well, I'm curious, and I'm not sure. I'm kind of 50-50. I'll kind of probably want to see the rest of the comp. Lunara or Fia are a bit uncommon bans, but hey, maybe they've scouted stuff like that. Zeratul, yeah, I think the level 7 choice will be interesting. I'm curious if people go Cleave build, or if they entirely swap to going a more Might of the Nerazim focused build entirely. So I'm definitely curious. I think the Might of the Nerazim build would be hard into the beefy frontline that Mismo Skillshots has shown so far, so not sure that'll be the case. There is the Anduin, and Phoenix. Phoenix with Anduin to help could definitely be solid. Phoenix into that front line and that much CC is a little bit tricky, but I think with Anduin it should be fine.
Yeah, Orphea, I think being banned out in the last rotation might be a response to the fact that she did get a pretty big buff to her Q build this last rotation, to the point where I think it's probably disgusting. But yeah, Anduin Phoenix, like you said, Phoenix is going to be a little rough to run in so much CC, and I mean, that is just a team that's just full of CC.
Yeah, the benefit of Phoenix and Zeratul, I do think Zeratul will probably go Cleave build now. And it's mostly just Uther as the solo healer has a really hard time with keeping up with a lot of spread damage. And both Phoenix and Zeratul do a lot of spread damage. And there's Blaze to make it even worse. So I think that'll be the pain point for Mismo Skillshots in this matchup. I mean, Johanna and Imperius are both pretty tanky. They can probably survive on their own a fair bit. But Jaina, until she gets Ice Block done, is going to be really squishy. Zeratul and Tyrael might look to probably pressure her most of this game. Blink works regardless of being slowed and things like that. And Maiev, I think if Anduin is on point and Tyrael and Blaze are peeling well enough, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. So I actually think, again, I like Archon's comp a little bit better going into this game. But that's what I said last game.
I mean, Tyrael Blaze is one of my favorite frontline combinations, and like you said, since the buffs, or since the changes to movement speed and other things like that, it's probably even stronger than it once was. And Tyrael with Sanctification, I think, makes Blaze a little bit safer if he does decide to go Combustion other than Bunker. And it'll be interesting to see if Zeratul does choose to go Might of the Nerazim as opposed to Void Prison. I think it's always a tough question there, just because Void Prison tends to be so strong. So starting out on the blue side, looking for the 2-0 domination, we have Miss My Skillshots, the Hammer playing Jaina, Arduous Bow on Imperius, Frosty on the Johanna, Tank Only playing Uther, and Carbon playing Maiev.
And on the right, we have Archon with Little Bex on Anduin, Variations on Blaze, Midnight Haze on Phoenix, JTR on Zeratul, and Fatal Rampage on Tyrael. My fire would be purged. One thing I was going to mention was I do think VP is probably the pick, and I hadn't thought of this before, but the Combustion choice out of Blaze instead of Bunker would definitely synergize pretty well with that. They could possibly go Purification, or I don't know what the beam on Phoenix
Planet
instead
Cracker.
of Purification Salvo.
Yeah.
Planet Cracker, thank you. I should know that. It's my hero. Yeah, Planet Cracker might also be a choice there because Salvo won't lock on to people that are time stopped. Zeratul making an early rotation to bottom to start this wave clear early game, since he is a pretty weak early game hero, but he should blink out and be relatively safe here.
So we are going to see the beginnings of Cleave build coming up from JTR on Zeratul. I think VP Combustion Purification Salvo could be a pretty nasty wombo, as long as you hit those in succession. VP into Combustion into Purification Salvo with all the extra damage bonus from the slows could be pretty devastating, and I think a lot of their team fight is going to revolve around hitting that combo. On the other side, just a lot of early game wave clear and aggression, and I think early picks is going to be the key to victory here for the side of Miss My Skillshots.
They're making an engage onto Jaina here. Looks like nothing's really going to happen from either side here. One thing I was going to mention is Anduin not going the bold strategy here, going just the damaging a hero one, which mostly really comes from auto attacks. And Blaze, if he's planning on going Combustion, did not go New Habits, so he won't have that Unstoppable on that panel there. So that might be a little bit tricky. He might have to go Bunker kind of as a save mechanic for himself with all the front line that they have. They might be able to pressure him.
Yeah, quite a few times I've been seeing people going Adrenaline Stim Pack. Any insight onto why that might be what everyone's picking at this point?
I'm not really sure. I'm not really an offlane or a Blaze player. I think New Habits is pretty much a 100% of the time pick. Just having a self cleanse is pretty valuable always. So I'm not really sure. I guess possibly just wave clear or the repositioning of the movement speed benefit. But I think with Tyrael on your team, you shouldn't really need the repositioning too much, and he's already going to give attack speed. So I think the wave clear is probably the main benefit. But into Imperius, I don't think Blaze really needs any better wave clear than he already has. Not sure.
Quite legitimately. And it looks like with the trade up here with Imperius into Blaze, it's looking to be quite one-sided. Blaze getting hit by those stuns is just going to constantly keep chunking him down, and he's going to have to burn a heck of a lot more mana to heal, which he's not really bothering to do at this point. We're going to see the rotation come out from Archon onto the Bruiser Camp. This is a nice and early Bruiser Camp, but I think, well, it's not an early Bruiser Camp. It's kind of a late start, but no one else is on the Shrine at the moment, so I think they're going to get away with this. Who thinks better?
A bit strange that both teams kind of chose to not get set up for the Shrine to spawn here. Both are kind of late getting to it. One going the Bruiser Camp and the other getting the bot lane Impaler Camp. With those getting buffed and it just being pretty far from the objective here, Zeratul is going to be spending some time mostly clearing it out, not quite finishing it off. Phoenix getting engaged on, and he goes down. Yep. Anduin was not in range to get the life grip to save him there, so Zeratul's probably just going to go back down bot lane to soak, and looks like Miss Most Skillshots is going to win the first Shrine here.
So, I mean, I think that this is kind of, even contesting that first Shrine might have been a bit of a misplay by Archon, as this composition really doesn't come on until 10. Like, if you don't have Sanctification, you don't have Void Prison, you don't have any major forms of initiation with this composition, and they're going to have to, maybe play a little bit more safe, a little bit more macro into these situations. Phoenix stepping up in that area was probably a bit of a misplay. They could have just kind of kept soaking, as they lost the objective anyways, but giving away early kills, just like in the last game, does tend to snowball against you.
Yeah, I mean, you can always kind of poke your head into contest and see if someone is out of position, and you can get a free pick and maybe get an objective win that you really shouldn't have. That's always kind of an option that you can see if it presents itself. But I don't think he really expected the engage, condemn, and then follow up from the side of Miss Most Skillshots, and just got picked off. And at that point, that decided things on its own. So
yeah, that Imperious Q is probably a bit hard to dodge with with Phoenix and his big fat butt, and it did end up costing them any type of positioning on that beforehand. But we still got plenty of game to go with. They can still get the 10s, and I think the game will start to look significantly different once they actually hit that point in the game.
Yep, great save by Anduin there on the Zeratul mid lane, saves his life. So things have relatively stabilized now for both teams. We're just waiting for the next objective phase here.
Both teams seemingly ignoring the top lane, looking for these mid-lane brawls, sort of reminiscent of of Quick Match. But the fast rotation from Variations actually turns the fight heavily in favor of Archon, and they get 3 kills off of that.
Yeah, Midnight Haze pumping out a lot of damage in that fight, along with the Zeratul. He did go for the Worm still, so that's a little bit interesting. We'll see if he potentially gets punished somehow by having to stay in for a little bit longer. Although it does mean he can get, for example, 2 cleaves off with the extra duration on it as well. So maybe it's even almost sort of a buff if the opponents aren't ready to react and capitalize on it. But they are going to be able to take away the camps on the map, and with their level 10 advantage, probably push bot lane pretty solidly here.
Yeah, map control was essentially sacrificed by Miss My Skillshots. Or Miss Most Skillshots. I keep saying that name completely wrong.
I'm trying to help you out.
It's okay. It's a caster brain. Anyways, a bit of posturing here coming out from the side of Miss Most Skill Shots. But not able to pick anybody off, and that's going to be a third camp actually picked up, and that's actually getting even more and more experience kind of in their favor. 10s are online, and as we kind of expected to see, or at least what I expected to see, Sanctification, Void Prison, and Purification Salvo is the plan. But we did get Bunker instead of Combustion, and I wonder if in this particular matchup, the Combustion might have been the better choice.
Yeah, especially with Light Bomb on Anduin, I think that could have been a pretty reasonably guaranteed combo. But without the level 1 talent, I'm not sure that he was really willing to take the risk of potentially losing most of the value of his heroic. And Bunker, if they need a save mechanic out of Anduin, Bunker functions kind of similarly. So having an extra backup plan is probably never a bad call.
So to answer the level 7 question, Zeratul did go Wormhole. We're going to start the Shrine being channeled. First 4 taken by Archon, and the fights are looking to be trying to get set up, but positioning currently is in favor of MMS. I'm just going to start saying that because it's easier. And we're going to see a little bit of pressure coming in from JTR onto Carbon, but he's going to pull him into tower range, but he does manage to blink out before taking any shots. Is super low. That's the thing about Zeratul. Early trading is a little bit rough. And now with the changes Wormhole, he's got to stay in there a lot longer than most Zeratuls used to have to do in the past. JTR getting another tether in
there. Did also have a camp pushing top lane, so they are getting some split pressure on this map here. Great VP though. This might turn the fight. Although there we go, VP and Salvo do not work as you would hope. It makes me sad.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looked like all of those ultimates just didn't really go together very well. Fantastic sanctification, preventing, I would say, almost 3 hero deaths happening right there in that exchange. But I think, given the ult economy plus the health bars on the side of Archon, I think this Shrine is just going to be going in favor, especially with that pick off on Zeratul, in favor of MMS.
Yep, Maev making a re-engage here. This could potentially turn the other way, but without Zeratul, I don't think they have the damage to do it. And yep, MMS is going to win the second Shrine there. The top lane camp did die. Tyrael is quite low that I'm not sure he can bait this jump very safely. Okay, with the good Q, he should be alright. Imperius was looking on the backside though. They're looking onto Phoenix, but he gets the warp out. He looks to be fine. So they're gonna...
skin of his teeth he gets out of there.
Yeah, a little bit. So Blaze is back to soaking top lane. They do actually have an XP advantage, but the fort is going to go down in the bot. Okay, Zeratul, he was looking for something there, but chose to back off. The rest of his team wasn't really in position to follow up for anything, and VP is still down, so just going to focus on clearing out the Punisher here.
Yeah, despite another objective loss, and they do lose the fort, experience is still sitting relatively even. So well done by Archon and making sure that they're not missing any of that. But we are going to see the mid fort go down as well, and that's going to start snowballing the experience tick slightly in favor of MMS in this situation.
Yeah, as this game goes later, Zeratul will hit some pretty strong power spikes still at 16 and 20. So if they can make it to 16, I would say, without losing a keep, I think Archon is probably in a pretty good spot if they can just synergize their ults a little bit better in these fights and not have Zeratul get picked off trying to harass the backline. He should be alright. They are looking sort of for an invade on this Shaman camp, but they all back off in time, so just going to clear it out.
Yeah, nice
Blaze
placement by Blaze Oil. Maya missed that W actually onto him. That is a nice saving grace for variations in that top lane.
Impaler camps, I can't tell if they're getting a whole lot of more value than they used to. It looks like they're still mostly getting cleared. They are still, of course, as buffed. They only got buffed offensively, so as long as they're not hitting the structures, not too much harder to deal with.
Yeah, it just seems like the teams are maybe putting a little bit more focus on clearing them up before they get value still.
Well, it does get dropped there, but it's a relatively short cooldown, and it should probably be back up before the next run. Nothing too lost there. Oh, the face check. And Tyrael is going to make it out, actually, without even using Sanct even. I'm kind of surprised at that.
So Light Bomb kept him alive, and Anduin went for the pull, but he got caught on the wall here, actually, and wasn't able to actually get pulled out of danger. Kind of one of those bad graphical moments, and Tyrael gets out by the skin of his teeth, like you said, without actually having to sacrifice Sanctification, and Light Bomb is on a significantly shorter cooldown, so in the end, given the fact that we did have Divine Storm and Blessed Shield used in that instance for that pick onto Tyrael, ult economy slightly in favor of Archon, and they're just about to hit 16, so this invade is actually coming in. They do hit it now. Void Slash needs to be picked up if you want to get any pressure onto the Fatal Rampage. Goes for the Holy Ground, does not manage to land it, and they're going to have to back out of here, but it looks like JTR is going to get in there, get a 3-man VP, and things are looking a little bit dire.
Stunning out of this VP, so yeah, good cleanse on the Jaina, but Salvo does come out. That should possibly finish her off. Nope, JTR is going to finish it off in the back line.
So, Sanctification was interrupted, and I think that is more or less what led to the team fight actually becoming a loss. And
gonna get hit by the spear, and he's probably gonna go down. Yep.
Exactly.
So yeah, it looked to be a good engage. I think they were just probably 5 or 10 seconds too slow on the side of Archon there, that they couldn't get there before the camp was actually taken, and then their engage was kind of on cooldown with Tyrael going in by himself, but being a hair too late. So kind of an unfortunate turnaround, but well played on the side of MMS. Looks like they will probably be able to start this shrine and most likely pick it up during these death timers and probably push for a keep. And if they can get a pick or two, possibly even a game-ending push here in the top lane.
Now, there's still plenty of time for Archon to get back up into this top lane and get another fight, as the minions haven't been dropping very fast, as the hammer wasn't quite on it. But now that Jaina is there, this is actually going to start getting cleared up pretty quick. And as you said, they're not even going to bother. They're just going to posture up, get their lane soaked, keep up in the level, in the experience area as best they can, and just look to do a full defense here on the keep as that objective pushes down the lane.
They might be able to get a pickoff on Imperius here. He already used his ult. Looks like he's close enough to the fort to probably be alright, though. One thing I was going to mention, if that shrine did get cleared a bit faster, was MMS was going to have their ults back up, actually, by using them way earlier, and Archon was not. However, VP and Light Bomb and Sanct are all back up now, so no real problem there. They do have to back pretty quick if they want to get back in time to defend this keep. And it might be pretty tricky with the Punisher jumping around.
I do think that the backs were a little bit too slow. I think they got way too distracted on going for that Imperius kill in the bot lane, and that's going to cost them, this keep for sure. I thought it was going down anyways, but they probably could have still mounted up a better defense into this. Now this is going to be threatening core, and if they lose anyone on this push here, it's going to be a pretty scary situation for Archon, and they could lose. But it looks like they're just going to back off. Half-health immortal as it might be, they just don't have the siege damage they feel to actually push in for a core call, as they didn't get any picks off the initial engagement. So keep goes down. We're still 18 and a half to just about 18. So there's still plenty of time for Archon to start turning this game around.
Yeah, with the keep down now, and MMS with about maybe half to 3/4 of a level lead, they're probably just going to look to pressure the bot side of the map now. And with someone having to respond to the top side, they will likely just wait for someone to miss position, or for them just to be able to take a 5v4, or just wait until level 20, and hopefully Archon can't get matching them on the level 20s before the next shrine, and they'll probably look to take a good fight whenever they have an advantage, or something like that.
Yeah,
with this push going in the bot lane right now, and Archon not responding, this could potentially be another problem for them.
Yeah, with the level lead, we're definitely going to want to see Archon see if they can find a fight here before 20s hit, as it's going to be the only place they're going to have advantage. If they wait out for the shrine, they're probably still not going to hit 20s before it actually activates, and that's a scary situation to be in against this team. Looks like we're going to get a pause, though, coming in from the hammer. Looks like we had a DC.
Yeah, I thought MMS kind of had an opportunity there with all of Archon being on the top side of the map and not really responding to the bot lane camp pushing, that they could have potentially pushed and looked for at least the keep wall a bit stronger, or get some chip damage on the keep. They were probably off vision, so of course worrying about them getting flanked pushing that far up on the map, and they can play patient. They're ahead on XP, so they can play things slow. But I think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity there. But things should be fine. Hopefully this DC doesn't last too long.
So, they do have good initiation tools in the form of VP, in the form of Light Bomb. If they can catch them on a rotation, as MMS is still playing pretty aggressively on their side of the map. If they're nice and set up, but I don't know. Sure, I'm definitely not certain about this current split where we have Zeratul away from the rest of his team. The rest of the team kind of dancing here in the bottom. I don't think he can unpause.
You're the ref, so yeah, there you go. So yeah, Zeratul, I think right now he was looking to probably sit in deep stealth on the shrine and hopefully just get set up there and catch them off guard with a VP when they are clumped clearing the shrine, and then Archon could have engaged, but he did get spotted, and it is tough into all of the big AoEs like Condemn and stuff that they will have on the shrine there, so not sure that actually would have played out. They are invading this bruiser camp, and it looks like MMS is just willing to give it to them, as they are going to get level 20 off these lanes that they're soaking, so...
Yeah, definitely the safe play, and I think is generally what you want to do there. Who cares if they get a shaman camp? That's easy enough to clear out behind your fort. Meanwhile, top lane's being pushed down with 3 catapults, which has to be responded to by Archon, and they're still not 19, as they were sharking around for fights that they couldn't find instead of soaking. And it's always that kind of catch-22. Do we find a fight? Do we shark around? Do we just try to turtle up and see if we can get it? And now, kind of looking at the situation, they might have actually had plenty of time to side soak those lanes and get that equalizer on 20 instead of kind of sharking around. But it's one of those kind of hindsight's 2020 situation.
Yeah, with top lane having the fort already and the full keep wall being there, I'm not sure Jaina needed to respond to that camp. They kind of lost a bit of their level 20 window there with Jaina being stuck in the top lane. They only had a 4v5 on their push here. It looks like Imperius is sort of getting caught out here, does have to pop the ult, but it looks like he should be fine. They are counter-engaging, and the cleanse comes out, but not quite enough to save the Zeratul. Looks like Tyrael is also going to go down, so that probably means Shrine goes over to MMS, and they will push down mid lane.
Yeah, the chain stuns are so rough, and Zeratul getting picked out there, going a little bit too deep trying to get that Imperius kill. Did cost him his life and that of Tyrael's as well. So they're not going to be up in time for this defense. This keep's going to be a pretty scary defense on its own. And we could be very well looking at core here. But we do have level 20s now picked up for both sides. And it might just be enough with Holy Arena, with Shadow Mend, with the extra second charge on Leap of Faith with Unconquered Spirit, for them to sustain out some of these fights with all of that CC. The double cleanse is also going to be pretty nice. Anyone can be able to save someone in that situation where they're getting chain comboed stunned death.
Yeah, MMS did use a lot of their longer cooldowns in that last fight to get those kills, so Archon does have a little bit of a cooldown advantage going into this, but they will have to play this pretty safely. Imperius is pushing top lane, though, to try and get an extra lane of pressure on this. So it looks like the core call has been made, sort of, and he's prepping for that. But if Archon can make a solid defense here and get a pick or two on these turnaround kills, they should be fine. There's one cleanse have to be used on Phoenix already. Sanct is dropped. VP is dropped. There's Ice Block as well. Blaze looking to re-engage, Bless Shield, and the second cleanse comes out, but not enough to save him. And it looks like they are on the core now. Punisher jumping in, punching JTR a whole bunch. Salvo not quite finishing anybody off. It looks like it did pop the Indestructible on Johanna. The Maev engaging back on JTR, and Anduin getting the 2 kills.
Getting all of the Slaughterhouse in the end there, trying to get a 5-man team wipe, which they didn't quite manage. Mostly due to the fact that Phoenix has an Unconquered Spirit. And the ult usage at the end there, the VP was kind of used in desperation. Sanctification went down almost at the same time in a completely different area. And as soon as those tools are down, the initiation was available for Johanna to go in with Blessed Shield, and that pretty much just ended the game. They were already in a tight spot. It was already a scary situation for Archon to be in, and missed my skill shots. goes ahead and takes the 2-0 victory. What'd you think?
Well, I think Archon, as rough of that second game was, I do think they played a lot better the second game. I think having the weak early game of Zeratul did kind of hurt them a little bit, and they Tyrael as a main tank kind of didn't really work out that well, in my opinion. Also, it just felt like they tried to slow things down, but maybe almost went too far in the other direction, where they still kind of, they kept even most of the early game, but they were losing the shrines. And so they were losing the structure advantage and the map pressure as a result, and it just seemed a little bit too hard for them to come back from. And then the team fights, yeah, the synergy on ults especially just wasn't really very cohesive, and so when the pieces aren't coming together, it sort of crumbles like that. So a bit of an unfortunate game for them, but well played to MMS, and they take the 2-0 domination.
Alrighty, well, how about the two of us saunter on over to the NGS Discord and pop into lobby. Let's see what's available. Let's go to lobby 1. And we can host our happy little interview here. I did not paint the happy little sheet. That's alright. Most of us just wing it anyways. Just waiting for Hammer to pop into the interview lobby for us. I'll let him know that we're in lobby 1, waiting for him. So, in the end, you called the draft in favor of Archon both times, and both times they lost. What's up with that? Hello, The Hammer. Congratulations on your 2-0 domination today. How you guys feeling? Well, I managed to butcher your name about 50 times in game. I kept on saying Miss My Skill Shots, and it's actually Miss Most Skill Shots. And we eventually just kind of devolved into MMS because, So game number 1, you guys came in with, map pick was theirs, right? No, you had map pick, so you came in with a plan. Yeah. With the Artanis and the Alarak, and that was just some intense displacement play that we saw from you guys.
That we should go to more team fight oriented, to just go into our comfort zones, And we had 2 players, Archer's Bow and Carbon, who were strong on Artanis and Alarak respectively. So
okay, I fixed a bit of an issue there where no one could hear you talking because I forgot to put audio output on that screen that I had it on. So yeah. Anyways, just to explain the thought process behind that, the displacement draft in number 1 again for us.
So we went into BOE. We wanted to do a heavy team fight. So we picked both Artanis and Alarak. We have 2 players very good on those respective heroes. Archer's Bow, who is subbing for us. Thank you. And Carbon on Alarak. And we thought we'd just keep up the aggression and get picks. And it worked for us.
Yeah, quite swimmingly. Any follow-up to that, Ryukai?
Well, one thing I was going to mention is it seemed like both games, you guys let some, I would say, traditionally thought to be kind of S tier heroes in Zeratul and Abathur through the draft, and it kind of actually maybe was a bit of a detriment to them, where the early games were kind of rough in both games for their side. I don't know if that's something you guys kind of drafted around intentionally, letting those through, or having that game planned in mind when they picked those up. But I guess thoughts on that?
Yeah, so letting Zeratul and Aberthur through, my thought process was Zero wasn't as high priority, especially when we're drafting such a strong early game with Alarak. And also, of course, the recent Zeratul nerfs. And Abathur, again, not as strong in the early game here, especially on these 2-lane maps.
Seems pretty concise to me.
Yeah, you guys definitely played well. Once you got a lead, you guys generally pushed for the advantage with it, and were able to get even more picks here and there, and just kind of snowball your lead from there. So I would say both of those games were definitely played very well by you guys.
Yeah, the stun chains was pretty insane in map number 2. Again, it just a draft you guys have been practicing a bit, where you just chain every stun you can into snowball that into good, easy victories.
Well, I'll be honest, we haven't had too much practice, but
Gotcha.
We had a plan and we executed it. So that I think that shows the strengths of the individual strengths of our players to be able to dynamically adapt like that to new situations, even without previously practicing these specific comps.
It looked pretty polished from our end, so despite a low amount of practice, that seemed to be the execution seemed to be pretty much on point. Most of those team fights, I would say that's pretty good. And given the fact that if you guys get more practice in, it might be even scarier. But so why don't you tell us a little bit about Miss My Skill Shots? Are any of you guys NGS veterans? Are you all in for first season ever?
I do believe most of us are first season of NGS. A lot of us do have previous competitive heroes background. So I've participated in TESPA championships as well as Heroes Lounge, but never NGS. And we also have other players who similarly have competed in TESPA. And I think, if I remember correctly, we have a couple people who have some experience with NGS. But most of us are new to the Nexus Gaming Series.
Cool. And how long have you guys been a team?
How long have we been a team? When was the deadline for the registration? Because that was one. It was kind of a last minute thing.
Well, you're not alone. There's several teams like that all throughout. So,
well, very good first showing in your first game ever in NGS. Congratulations. That's an even bigger win, I would say, in this situation, just given the circumstances. Going forward, what are you guys thinking about your chances throughout the season?
After this game, I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't know how we'd stack up to these other teams in the heroic division. There are some big names, obviously, like Celeb Gaming and the people on Yikes S tier. But I think we have a really good shot if we keep up performances like the one we had today. Any
follow-up questions there, Rio?
No, I think that's it. I would say just any shoutouts you've got. That's pretty much it.
Well, I'm going to shout out my team. They played great. Carbon was great on Nav and Alarak, and huge thanks to Archer's Bow, who stepped in when we needed a sub.
Alrighty, well, if that wraps it up, it was a pleasure having you in here, The Hammer. Congratulations on your win, and look forward to seeing even better things from you and the boys in the future.
Thanks.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap up the first stream of the night. We will be back for another matchup here in about 45 minutes, so I am going to close down the stream for the time being. There is another match going on, I think, concurrently to this with Sky 5. Yeah, we'll be right back here yet again. Thanks for everybody for coming in. into the chat, being here active. Thank you, Rio, for coming in and co-casting with me. You're coming back for the second game tonight, yeah?
Yeah, of course I would come in and co-cast. I'm not sure about the second game. We'll see. Busy moving days and whatnot, so might have to duck out. But yeah, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun this first game. Hopefully, I'll be back for more later in the season, or even start up doing some casting myself if I'm not back later tonight. So
yeah, once you get your feet wet, it just kind of snowballs from there, and eventually you'll have your own thing, and you're going to be casting, and you're going to be doing more games than me, and people are going to be going to your channel more frequently than mine, and it's just the way it goes. But I appreciate you being in all the same. Thanks for everybody. If you feel like it, I definitely appreciate any subs or cheers that you guys do throughout the day. And we'll see you in about 40 minutes from now. Thanks so much, everybody, and we will see you soon.